Welcome back. So we wanted to be able to, when we refresh the page, we want to be able to figure out if we already have a logged in user in this browser. That's pretty much what we call state. I want to be able to have a state saved in the browser. So when I refresh the page, I can check out the state. And if there's already a user logged in, I want to just send that user to the backend and kind of show up the chat page right away instead of this welcome area right here. So that's what we're going to try and build this lesson. Now, we have to learn a few things in order to do that. First of all, let's go to the front end. What I want to start using a new thing called local storage. Local storage, I'll show you, will actually save information inside your browser and it'll be readable from anybody who has access to your browser. So beware of what you save in this area, but it's a way for us to kind of store information that we want to persist or keep whenever we shut down the browser and open it up again, kind of like cookies, right? So it's something we can reuse every time the browser starts. How do we do that? Well, just to be polite, I want to start out by putting in a new service here for storage so we can get rid of that later if we don't need it. So what I'll do here is I'll do an ng generate, I'll generate a service, I'll put it in the shared folder, and I'll just call it storage. It'll just be the storage service. That's all it's going to be for now. It should pop up in here. There we go. We have this new service. I'll just get rid of the spec file since I'm not testing, and then I'll go into the service file. In the service file, I want a few things. First of all, I want a way to save my chat client, so I have them available later on. In order to do that, of course, I need to pass in the chat client I want to save. So I'll put in chat client right here. There we go. And I want to just explain to the system I'm not going to return anything, so it will be void, like this. Now, in order to save it, it's very simple. You just have to go to local storage, which will be the browser storage, and you'll have to set the item. And then here you can explain the name. And let's just call it client for now, and put in a comma right here, and then we will send in that chat client. But notice I cannot send in an object, it needs to be a string value. But luckily you guys already learned about JSON and how you can stringify objects and just pass it in like this. And now we can actually save our chat client as a JSON string inside the client area right here. So that's all we had to do to save the client. What if I want to load the client? Well, let's make another method, load chat client. Here I'm going to actually return a chat client that is currently saved. So that's what we're going to do. And the way we do it again is first we need to kind of convert this guy, what we're finding inside local storage, we need to pass that into being an object again. So let's just make a constant right here and let's just make it a chat client like this of the type chat client equals. And then what we're going to try and do is we're going to say local storage dot get item, and we're going to pass in that name client right there. And actually this is going to return a string for us, or it's going to return undefined. Now let's just put that in its line of its own right here. Chat client string, just to make it easy to see. We'll pass that in there, and now we have the chat client string. So if there is a chat client string, that'll be the next thing. If there's a chat client string, then we will go and actually pass it into a chat client. So just to be sure there's actually a string in there, and then we'll do a JSON pass and we'll pass that chat client string in there, and now we have a chat client available like this. If nothing else, it's going to return right here, will return the chat client, and if everything fails, we're just going to do nothing, which will return undefined. And the final error right here is because if you want to be able to return undefined, you need to do that and you need to pass in undefined, so we know that we can also return undefined. And then the final thing it complains about is it says it's not enough in TypeScript to just return nothing like you would in JavaScript. You actually have to say return undefined to be precise that that is what you are doing if you load a client that doesn't exist in your data storage. Sweet. So now we have all this set up and we can start using our storage service inside our chat component. So we'll go to the chat component, we'll go to the constructor, and we'll just start using a new service. So make it private, we'll make a storage service, and we'll put in the storage service right here. Now with the storage service, we can now say, instead of right now, if you notice, what we're actually doing here is whenever we get a welcome message, we actually save the chat client locally, and also we store them in the chat service. And the reason we did that was pretty much just to, when we move between pages, it would stay alive in the chat service. But now we have this new storage, so let's get rid of that. And instead what we're going to do is we're going to say this dot storage service dot save client, and we'll put the chat client in there now. There we go. So now we have the chat client actually saved in our system. That's pretty neat. Now, the cool thing is when we kind of refresh the page now, we can also load our chat client from the storage. So if we go back a little bit, you'll notice that all the way up here, we actually went in and said, let me try and find it. I think I went the wrong direction. There it is. We said if the chat service already has a chat client, then we can actually go and send that chat client. But what we're going to do instead now is we're going to just make a constant here, old client like this, and just pass him in there. And we're going to say if there's already an old client available, we can do that by asking load chat client right here. So if there is an old client available, then we can actually pass him in to this guy right here now. Send the ID, send the nickname, and we're pretty much done by saving this and loading this chat client again now when we refresh the page. Sweet. Let's go to our actual chat service. There we go, and just have a look, because I don't want this chat client here anymore. I want to get rid of it because it's not being used anywhere anymore. It was just for local memory stuff, and I don't want to use that in here anymore. So that's gone. Hopefully we won't get any errors. No, everything looks fine. Let's try now to do the same thing that we used to. Let's try and go and log in with John right here. Oh, that was a crazy name. There we go. John, we'll send that. And now we're logged in with John. But here's the cool part. If I refresh the page now, I get back to John, right? Because actually, right now, I'm actually getting the information about John from local storage. Now, I know it blinks a little bit. We should have a loading screen or something. We'll fix that later. But notice I'm getting back to the page of John, even though I refresh my page. So let's actually have a look at how we save this now in the browser. I'll just open up developer tools right here. I'll go to local storage. Under storage right here, I'm in Safari. There's another way to do it in Chrome. I'll show you in a second. And under local storage, under client, here's actually our client object. And notice here all the information is. So every time I refresh right now, I'll just load that information from here and put it in here and send it to the backend and get information from the backend, the welcome page. Now it seems we're missing the clients. We'll fix that in another episode, but still we now have this up and running with actually storing the client locally in our system. Sweet. Let's try and do the same thing in Chrome just to show you. If you want to see the same thing in Chrome, you go into developer tools again, you go under application, under local storage, and here you can see here's the client again. This is Bill now I'm logged in with. So John and Bill, if I refresh again, you'll notice the client goes away. There's a bug there, but still we get back to Bill. So everything is actually working as expected, both in Chrome and in Safari. And one more thing you should know now is if I do more browsers now, if I make another chat application right here, since I'm in the same session, it'll actually open directly into Bill. So I cannot like test multiple users like we did earlier. You can do that by jumping into either secure mode, by jumping into Ignito in Chrome if you want to. Then you'll get a clean storage. Or you can of course also go into some private browsing right here with Safari if that's what you want. So it's really up to you. You can use a private window, right? And then you'll also get a clean storage. So that's it for this lesson. Now you guys know how to save information in local storage. And again, notice I decided to go and create a local service for that because it's just easier to maintain if you kind of keep these things separate all the time. So the storage is something that belongs in its own service in my mind. So see you next time. Bye.